So let's start. But before we start, if you have seats that are available inside, we've got a lot of people standing, so if you could kind of squish in, that would be helpful. And then people can sit. Like curtain cattle. Okay, so you've been given notice. There are seats available if you so choose to come down. So please do that. So let's please stand before we get this place started. Need call to order the meeting. It starts at 6 o'clock. We're a little late, actually. So February 6, 2024, calling this to order. So if you remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance for invocation, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the recent rains that topped off our lakes, provided much-needed moisture for our forest and landscapes. This rain helped our wildlife, our local farmers and ranchers to grow new winter plants. Tonight, we want to thank our first responders and all of our Holly Lake Security Department. Each one of these people makes daily sacrifices to help us in so many ways. We are blessed to have both groups. We pray a special prayer tonight. You will walk hand in hand through all the members here as we go through the silver leaf transition. Guide the board and the GM in making the best decisions for everybody. Amen.
Thank you, Warren. You may be seated. Thank you all for coming out tonight. It's good to see the numbers of the interest in our community. So we'll get started. If we can bring up the slide, please, for the agenda. We'll move to item 3.
Mr. President, I make the motion to approve the meeting minutes for the January 23rd, 2024 open meeting and executive session.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passed. Item number 4, the recognition of Bill Bollinger. Warren.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Special night tonight. I called Chief Bollinger, and he said he was ex-Chief Bollinger. So for tonight's purposes, we're going to use the word Bill. Okay? And by the way, Bill has a fire department meeting at 6:30, so if he leaves, it's not because it's not a full house, because he's got something else to do. Bill, can you come on down, please? Just want to give you a little history, short, but very, very interesting. Bill moved to Holly Lake in 2004. He quickly got involved in the Holly Lake Fire Department in 2006, where he served on the board as assistant chief. He was elected chief in 2019 after the sudden passing of the previous chief. I will let you know the Holly Lake Fire Department serves all of Holly Lake and a little bit of area around the edges. Doing some simple math, that's 18 years of volunteer service, and I'll remind you that his pager goes off 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's about the time he sits down to eat dinner or goes to sleep or when the Cowboys are going to score. Okay, which isn't often, as we know. You always watch the Cowboy games, right, Bill? Yeah. Okay, now the story gets even better. And they report these numbers each month to keep up with what they've been doing. In the last 5 years, the Holly Lake Fire Department, Chief Bollinger in charge, has been very, very busy. And I want to remind you that during the COVID period on some of these calls, they were not allowed by health rules to even go out to your house if you were sick. And so that cut down on the number of calls. But the rest of these numbers still add up to a lot of numbers. So over the last 5 years, the Holly Lake Fire Department responded to 88 building fires. That's over one a month. 157 grass fires. It's over 2 a month. They have helped helicopter assist down here at our airport 103 times, get people to the hospital, save their life. You may not know this, but they've helped 140 times on motor vehicle assist. These are when you're in a wreck, they can't get you out, they got jaws of life, they got all these things, help pull you out and save your life again. They've done that 140 times. Kind of the funny one sometimes he's told me about is 132 public assist. A lot of these are the big trucks from Ozarka that get stuck on the bridge, okay? Once they turn around the bridge, they need a fire department to get them out. So those are the public assist and things like that where somebody needs a little help. They show up to help and be good citizens. Now here's the big one that'll just blow you away, and it blew me away. Over 5 years, there's been 1,452 medical calls that mostly came from this ranch. Okay, that means Bill Bollinger's pager and all of his other people that volunteer. Over 5 years, he got 2,068 pages. So I don't know if he set out much in the last couple of years. So and finally tonight is a huge gift from the Holly Lake Fire Department and a very special donation. Bill and the fire department have donated 4 AEDs. These are your electrical defibrillators that keep you alive. And Adam will decide where to place those around the ranch where they'll serve the most people. And he's brought those tonight, and that will help us financially, and that'll help save some lives. And I might mention that, yeah. I want to mention the ones he brought are what they call lead ready. So if Krista shows up, they don't have to change anything. They just plug and go. And probably some training on the ranch next couple of months. So for all this service, 2,068 calls, let's give Bill a big hand.
Thank you very much. Just let me say that we couldn't do what we do without you folks, okay? Without the support of the Holly Lake Ranch and the surrounding community. We cover 58 square miles in Wood County. Okay, it's not just the ranch, but without the support of you folks, we couldn't do what we do. So thank you very much. I appreciate this very much.
Bill. Bill. Bill, on behalf of the board and every resident of Holly Lake Ranch, really thank you very much. It's very well-deserved retirement, and we'll see you on the ranch. Yeah. Okay, moving to item 3. Jeff?
All right, I'm going to be all smiles tonight because I know this full house, everybody heard about the great financial presentations I get, and you could not wait to get here. Hot dog. All right, let's get through the meat and potatoes of this pretty quickly. I do want to spend some time toward the end of the presentation really trying to make people's understanding of exactly what we achieve year in and year out a little more clearly. Okay, first off, revenue for the year. The golf sales there in green because we had a great year in golf, up 10%, $41,000 above budget. Most of that was green fees, actually. We were $13,000 above budget on memberships, $24,000 above budget on green fees. So really good year for us. Other income, I've got that in yellow. Even though we're $164,000 above budget, I have it highlighted in yellow because I want you to take that with a little bit of caution. We're going to discuss this a little bit later, but let's go through what makes up that $164,000. $60,500 of it were collection fees. $30,000 above budget were late fees. $20,000 above budget in fines, and $33,000 above budget in interest. So a couple of those items, we're going to put a pin in it. We're going to circle back to it, the collections and the late fees, and we'll get back to that toward the end of the presentation. All right, moving on to expenses. This is the security department. You'll see under budget, pretty much all the way down. Couple highlights, insurances. We were $6,000 below budget. We had our insurance renews in August. We thought we were going to have a fairly sizable increase on that, so we budgeted for a 10% increase. Did not come. We actually had a really good renewal rate, so that was great. $4,600 below budget on furnitures and equipment. Again, so you know how we like to operate. We put things in categories. We have needs, wants, wishes. We always take care of our needs. We'll have some that are kind of on the cusp between a need and a want. On this particular line item, we decided to push the things back. We really didn't feel like we truly needed to do it, and that's the reason we came up below budget there. And then the bottom vehicle, $4,000 below budget. $6,600 of that was fuel. We were below budget, $6,600 in fuel on the security department. So that's very efficient use of our patrol vehicles. Moving on to maintenance. All right, buildings and grounds, $30,000 below budget. $10,000 of that was street materials. Like I tell you every year, we're always going to spend as much as we can on the street materials. If we can't get all the asphalt done that we want to do, toward the end of the year, we'll purchase a lot of aggregate material that we'll need for the following year because we're able to store that throughout the winter. HVAC, we're $6,000 below budget there. We had planned, we thought we were going to have one AC unit we were going to have to replace, and we did not. So again, good news for us. And then just general repairs, we were $4,000 below budget. Right below that, drainage projects, $22,000. So we had two projects, one that we pushed back. We just didn't have time to get to it this year. Another one just came in way cheaper. We were able to do everything in-house. So the cost involved with that was just way less. So that's why we came out a large amount under budget on that one. Toward the bottom, tree removal, $13,000, almost $14,000 below budget. The $13,000 that we spent, it's 32 trees across the ranch, not counting the golf course that we had to take out this year. So that's down considerably from last year. Moving on to golf maintenance expenses. Again, way under budget on buildings and grounds. $2,600 of that was sod. We had good growing conditions this year as far as the fairways, tee box, everything, so we didn't have to do quite a bit. We made a little game change this year on our tee boxes, overseeding the tee boxes, so that saved us some money as well. And then general repairs, we were $2,000 below budget. For the golfers that are in the room, you know that we installed a fence on the backside of the golf maintenance facility. That's so as you drive down number 11, you don't have to look at it because it's not that building's been there a very long time. It's not the greatest looking building. That was in the budget, putting that fence in this year. We just got it done for way cheaper than we thought we were going to be able to. Equipment repair, $4,800 below budget. Just had a good year. Didn't have a lot of breakdowns. And then again, tree removal. We spent $31,600. That was 48 trees, not counting, can't remember, was it the April or June that we had that storm come through and we had a ton of trees down. We had a ton of cleanup on hole number 10. We think we had small tornado or very powerful straight line winds that came through there. I think I lost track of how many trees we did on that one occasion. So, moving on to Pro Shop. Buildings and grounds, $6,000 below budget. We budgeted this in 2023 to redo the carpet in the Pro Shop, which we did. It had been 8 years. The first year I was here, we replaced that carpet. And folks, 8 years later, we replaced we didn't use the exact same carpet. We put in, I think, a much nicer carpet. It was the same price we paid back in 2016. I can't explain it, but I took it and ran, that's for sure. So, moving on to recreation. Under buildings and grounds, this has several line items under it, one of which is our fitness facility. We were $5,200 below budget just on that one particular line item of buildings and grounds. And that was because we had budgeted to replace a piece of equipment, but then we realized that when we started budgeting for this year, 2024, Adam came up with the idea that we're going to go to a lease system over there, so we decided there's no reason for us to replace that piece of equipment, so that's the reason that savings came about. Lakes, $7,400 below budget. I think we had budgeted for 2 bacterial treatments. We only ended up having to do 1. I think that's the majority of the savings there. Lakes have been very healthy this year, doing very well. All right, restaurant. Let's highlight this one. Look at that bottom number there. Total actual expenses for the restaurant, $66,600. Folks, that's all we spent on the restaurant with our third-party contractor. That's about half of what a good year used to be for us when we ran it ourselves, when, you know, the losses that we had sustained. So $66,600 for that restaurant, it's a big win, big win. All right, moving on to admin. Cannot ignore that top line, $121,000 under budget on payroll and admin. We had 2 key positions that we were without for a good chunk of the year, and that's the majority of that savings, but also, again, Adam doing a great job inside there, making some adjustments as far as job duties, and just operate extremely efficiently inside. And folks, I'm telling you, if you don't know the ladies up front, how hard they work, I would invite one of you, any one of you, just to come sit in that office on any one day. Doesn't matter what time of the month, any one day, and see how many people they deal with on a given day in addition to doing all of their duties and responsibilities. So they do a really great job. Buildings and grounds, $8,700 below budget. We had budgeted to replace the flooring in 2 of the offices back there, and then also the hallway. And again, kind of in between a want and a need, and we ended up just kind of pushing back for right now. Page 2 of admin expenses. Let's go over the elephant in the room. That's the one thing that we were well over budget on, professional fees. There's only 2 professional fees under this particular line item. It's our collections contractor, and then, trying to remember, because we moved quite a few of them to the multi-department. Contract labor, that was the other one. That's our cleaning contractor now. We were $17,700 over budget on the collections contractor. And again, we're going to put a pin in that one. We're going to circle back to it here in just a few minutes. All right, moving on to HR. Huge under budget on payroll and taxes. What that is, that's almost all but $65,000. That's what we saved on our employee health plan. Again, we made a change over a year ago on how that's structured. They have a little skin in the game now, and so because of that, we had a lot less people partake in the employee health plan than what we thought we would. So that's added up to quite a bit of savings for us. All right, moving on to our multi-department and leases. Here's the other professional fees. So in this, we've got audit, accounting, legal, and compliance. We were $32,000 over budget in legal, and we were $20,000 under budget in compliance. The legal fees were mostly made up of what we're going to be discussing tonight. Number one, we had a lawsuit during 2023, and we also had some foreclosures that we had to work on as well. So let me lay a little bit of the groundwork. Bottom right, net income variance. $716,000 to the good according to budget. Ignore that number. All right? Trust me. We're going to put a pin in that, and we'll get to it here in just a minute. All right, let's move on to our board restricted funds. This is how we pay for the large projects, the things that we capitalize. These are the things that the board votes on at the beginning of the year. And so we had budgeted for $711,000 worth of board restricted fund usage for 2023. You can see almost every project we came in well under budget. We also had one emergency item. We had to resprig 8 of the golf greens from the winter storm that we had, damage from the winter storm at the end of 2022. Even with that $18,000 expense, we were $93,000 below budget for the year. Obviously, the dam repairs, we're still waiting on TCEQ to give us the approval of the plan that we've submitted. So there's really nothing we can do as far as that goes. So that's 50,000 of it right there. I believe we had the playground equipment. It's not that we don't care about the playground equipment. We found when we went looking what we were going to get for $15,000 was not going to cut it. So we've kind of regrouped that, and we'll be taking care of that in the future. So we save that $15,000 there. The lake and pond dredging, 16 grand under budget. We were extremely happy with that total. We found a very competent contractor. They worked very quickly, and we thought it went extremely well. We know that it's a drop in the bucket, but it's a good start. It really is. It's a very good start, and we're going to continue working to help improve all the lakes and ponds across this ranch. All right. Now we're going to get kind of to the meats and potatoes of what I really want to convey for tonight. I really need to start calling this the aging report, because folks, this is our current aging. These are the dollar figures that are 30 days behind, 60 days behind, or 90 days behind. So that total right now is $75,000. Down here at the bottom, it shows you how many accounts that relates to. It's 160. But look at right below it. In collections, we have another 161 accounts that are in collections in addition to this. All right? So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So you remember that $712,000 that we saw that we were to the good? That's fairyland, okay? We had a good year. I don't want to make any mistakes about it. We had a good year. We did well on our income. We watched our expenses extremely well. But we're nowhere near $712,000 good. This is a better snapshot right here. So this is our cash position this December 31st versus last December 31st. Okay, we went up almost over $500,000 in operating cash. That's all of our different bank accounts. Folks, do you know that we have 13 different bank accounts? Reserve monies went up about we lost a little bit, about $80,000. So the net change, we increased about $457,000. This is a more realistic number for how we improved this year, okay? So if you go back to the very first page of the income statement, how many people, seriously, I want to see a serious show of hands. How many people go onto the website and look at our financials from time to time? Okay? That's decent. That's probably about 30%. I encourage you to, okay? We post them because we want you to know what is happening with your money. Very first page of the P&L, though, all right? Let's look up here. Property owners' dues. We got golf membership dues, collection fees, citations, all these things we bill for. So I'm not going to give a huge accounting lesson, but you have to understand the basics. We do, because we have billing that we send out, we have to do accrual accounting, okay? We don't do cash accounting. So that means when we send you a statement in the mail saying this is your month's dues, we have to record that income right then and there. Well, folks, that's not what's going to come in, okay? So, Adam, can you come up here for a second? We're going to do a little demonstration, okay? All right, so I am the admin office. Adam is going to be representative of the entire collective HLRA members, okay? So, Adam, I'm going to give you an invoice. Yes.
Sorry.
I'm going to give you an invoice for 100 pennies, okay?
Great.
I want you to pay me. No matter how careful he is at paying me and know how careful we are at taking it, I'm not going to get 100 pennies. Guess what our historical average is on AR? It's 6%, folks. So that means I'm only going to get 94 of these pennies. Now, he's going to tell me that, hey, a couple of these pennies I might get to you maybe in 30, 60, or 90 days. But a lot of those pennies I'm never going to get at all. Okay? But even though on this, we're showing 100 pennies. Okay? Now we have, obviously, we do have, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
My lovely assistant.
I was waiting for something. I thought it was going to be words.
So, this is a tough thing to wrap your mind around sometimes. It really is, all right? And we work hard at it, okay? So, I'm showing 100 pennies worth of revenue, but I really only get 94. So, I've got to make an adjustment. We do have an allowance for bad debt. It's nowhere close to what it should be. We have an adjustment. That's the reason we do an audit. That's one of the reasons we do. So let me back up. That's one of the reasons we do an audit every year, okay? So that an expert accounting firm can come in, look at our books, make sure we're doing things according to GAAP, and to make recommendations to us. So this past year, guess what? They told us that when they looked at our receivables, they said, we're sorry, based on your historical records and looking at the age of these accounts, we feel that you need to make a $202,000 adjustment to your allowance for bad debt. Now, we didn't make sure we didn't charge this off, okay? It's not we're going to ever be uncollectible. But for our financial records to look appropriate and to be in alignment with GAAP, we had to make a $202,000 journal entry. And so that right there affects all of us, okay? So our net AR this year was right about $300,000, okay? So that's right in line with that 6% that I told you about. So folks, you can look at the financial statements, but that's only one tool, okay? Our budget is a guide. It's a tool. It can't be used in a vacuum by itself. We have to use the balance sheet, okay? Now the balance sheet is a snapshot in time of your current situation, all right? Whereas the P&L, you're looking at your performance over a period of time. So there's three things we have to use. We have to use cash flow analysis as well to get a real handle on what's going on. And folks, that's what happened back in 2015 when we got so upside down that we were almost $300,000 to the negative because we were not paying attention. We were looking at the bank statements only, and we said, hey, there's money in the bank. Let's keep spending. Can't do that. Look at all the annual payments we get in. Do y'all know how much we get in annual payments? But nobody has any idea. Between association dues and golf, we'll get well over $1 million in annual payments up front. But guess what? That money's not going to come in the rest of the year. It's coming in once at the beginning of the year. So we have to set up accruals for it. So all this, I'm ranting, I'm raving, I know it. I'm sorry. I'm excited. I'm passionate, okay? We want to take care of your money, and I want you to understand that we care about your money. And we put a lot of effort into this. And I would love for y'all to ask more questions on an ongoing basis, to look at the financial statements on an ongoing basis, to know what's going on. Not to listen to chatter out there that's not founded in anything. Come to us, ask us. We're happy to sit down with you and explain anything that you don't understand on here. Happy to do it, okay? All right. I'm sorry. We did have a good year, though, folks. We really did. Another place you can look, besides the cash position, you can page back and get down here on the P&L and go all the way down to total expenses, okay? And look at the total expenses according to budget. We were $440,000 to the good on total expenses. That's pretty close to that 457 number, huh? Kind of weird how that works out, okay? So be educated about your finances. If you don't know things, come ask us. All right, so right now, with my diatribe over, I'm going to ask anybody that wants to come up and ask any questions about any part of the financial presentation. I know what everybody's here for, and I understand it. It's extremely important, and we're going to get to it. But if anybody has any questions, that is on. Come on up, state your name and what section you live in, and we will discuss.
Yes, my name's Mark Allen.
Hi, Mark. What section do you live in? Section 7, okay.
On the first page, you show total income of $4,653,000.
Yes, sir.
Our other financial document called Next Door says we collected $8.3 million this year. Where is that money?
Adam's got it.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that I failed to mention in my rant was just the monies alone that we bill for. You know, if you got to take out golf because people pay golf separately than everybody else. You got building permits, stuff that doesn't affect everybody. But the stuff that we bill for, on average, we're right around $4.68 million per year in billables. That's before we do any transfers to reserves, anything like that. And I hope everybody understands that the transfers to reserves, that's an internal thing that we do. Because again, the board is in control of those monies. We can't spend those just in the day-to-day operations. That has to be directed strictly by the board, okay? And we use what we call contra accounts. So even though it's on the revenue page, it's a negative because it's a contra account. So we're taking the money from that income, transferring over to another bank account that's in a reserve. Well, folks, we have to count that still as revenue, okay? It came in from you, and so, at least we billed for it. Hopefully most of it came in from you. And so we have to add that back in and count it as revenue. So if you were to take that 4.65, we've got to add back in about 800,000. No, about 700,000. So that would set us at about 5.3. So that's between operating and all of the reserve accounts. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Okay.
All right.
Next question. Back on your collection report, after the 49th month, we have to write it off.
So that has changed. So our current, and that's one of the reasons why in the last 2 years we've had a significant increase in our overall AR. So folks, I don't know if you know it, but if you look at the balance sheet, our total AR that's in memoriam, it's $907,000. Now our net AR is about $300,000 because our allowance for bad debt is at $600,000 right now. But getting back to the point, what was the question again?
What is your bad debt? How much is
So-
owed for dues today?
Yeah, so really that net AR is a really good number to work with, the $300,000. So again, we have total AR of $907,000 though. And again, that went up dramatically this past year because of the $202,000 journal entry that we had to make. So it is quite significant.
It's over $1 million.
Yeah.
It's $1,080,552.50.
Yep.
It's bad debt for people not paying their dues.
Yep. But so I know where I was going. So our current collections contractor, he differs in opinion from what we've been told. So the 49th month, that is for standard debt. Say you rack up a credit card and you decide you're not going to collect, you're not going to declare bankruptcy, you're just not going to pay it. If that credit card company doesn't come after you before 48 months are up, they don't have any recourse against you. They cannot sue you for that debt once it's more than 48 months old. According to 209, property dues in an association is exempt from the 49th month. We used to do that. We used to do all these gymnastics, and I hate that term because someone used to use that at one point, and it was a very negative connotation. I can't believe I just used it. But we would have to do a lot of work in the back room in the office because we would bill these people that hadn't paid for over 48 months. So once we billed them, there was now a 49th month on the books. We would have to turn right around and write off that 49th month and only count the most recent 48 months. And, you know, it was a quite a bit of busy work. And so we decided that we were going to take all of those accounts out of our point of sale system and transfer them over to a external storage system. Okay, we weren't writing it off. We just weren't going to bill them every month, then turn right around and write off the 49th month. We were going to set it over here, and if we ever had a chance to collect on it, we could calculate how much they owed us all the way up to the present time, and try to settle for that. Well, our current collections contractor, who's also an attorney, they're certified in homeowners relations. They claim that the debt for property dues is exempt from that. So we've gone back to charging those people, putting those accounts back into our system and charging them every month, but now we're not writing anything off. We are continuing, and again, so that's one reason why all of a sudden our bad debt is accelerating and growing at an exponential rate. So yeah, the one thing that kind of concerned me, it was a tough year on the aging report. Can we go back to the aging report real quick? Yeah. So this really concerned me. That jumped up dramatically. The 30 days. Look, 97 accounts. Now, let me qualify this statement a little bit. So as of December 31st, that's how much we had that people owed us. Now, there could be quite a few people in there that are never late. Something happened, they forgot about it, check got lost, whatever. So there is some of that is legitimate, that it's not people that are habitual at being late. But a good chunk of it is people who are habitually late. So, and we do have people ask, well, what can we do about it? We do a lot of things about it. We have to follow 209, though. But one of the best weapons that we have, when someone gets more than 90 days past due, we turn off their gate cards and we cancel their trash service. So now they have to stop at the gate every time to get a pass to get in. They got no way to get rid of their trash. That takes care of most people. But there's quite a few that find ways around it and just continue to be late. All right, so she asked, what kind of legal action can we do? So that's why we have the current contract we have. Now, here's the crux of the matter. Remember that $60,000 that we had in collection fees on the revenue page? Guess how much of that we've collected? That exists only on paper. None of it is in our bank account, because most of that is associated with these accounts that are extremely old that have never paid us. But we have to go through this process. It's the first letter from the attorney costs us $150. The second letter from the attorney costs us $270. We turn around and we assess those fees to that homeowner's account. So that drives up AR right there. And that drives how much. And then if they don't pay it, they got late fees on top of it. So you see kind of the cycle. But we have to do it. It's the only way we can do this. If we're ever going to hope to foreclose on any of these properties, we have to go through this process, and it costs money. It costs money. It costs time. We try to pick and choose. Well, that's a bad term. We evaluate the risk. If we want to take a property all the way through collections, right? I want to say what, Adam, $2,500 probably, maybe $3,000. Yeah. So, what if the lot's an unimproved lot and the value on it is $300? Do we really want to spend that much money? Yeah.
Ma'am, if you have a question, come to the front, please. Oh,
Yeah. Sure.
I've been emailing the president.
are you Miss Brown? Are you Miss
Yes, I
Brown?
am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Why don't you wait, please?
Okay.
Okay, let him finish his, because
Well,
then
that's
you'll
what
be.
I didn't know. I
Okay,
didn't know if this
thank
was
you. I'm
right
sorry.
time or not,
Right.
so
We will
we
address.
were
Sure.
touching on
Yeah.
that,
Sorry.
so that's my situation.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, there's hard decisions to make on, case by case basis, how do we proceed? And we work very hard at it. The finance committee is involved in this. The board's involved in it. Adam is knee deep in it. And we do the best we can. So.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other financial related questions? Hey, thank you very much for being an attentive audience. I really do appreciate it. I know everybody's here for really other issues tonight. But seriously, get involved in your I'm not supposed to point my wife. 2 fingers. You're supposed to use 2 fingers. Get involved in the finances. Know what's going on. Know the truth of what's going on. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Jeff. Moving on to item 6, Adam.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I wish it was like this every time, to be honest. This is great. All right. So we're going to talk. Go to this slide. So first item tonight is first quarter board restricted funds. This is just an update. The board has approved these already. They approved them in December. They voted specifically for the approval of the expenditure of those funds within first quarter in the December meeting. And then our process is then we construct and compile expenditure requests, which contains 3 bids, so on and so forth. We present those to the board. The board then approves or denies or modifies, and then we move forward. So when I say expenditure, we're kind of in that expenditure proposal area. That's what I mean. So if you look at the top, it's facilities renovation, and then we've got the 72-inch deck mower and Holly Hall generator. Those are all still pending. They're in the expenditure proposal process right now. The F-350 truck, you might have seen the new black F-350 truck driving around the ranch. We were able to get a fantastic deal on that. Jeff Griggs searched high and low, and we were able to find a used 2022 that's still under factory warranty, under budget. So we transferred the beds, and I think that's going to be a great vehicle for us moving forward. So we have made that expenditure. And the last one for the first quarter here is the gate generators. That's the entry gates, so that when the power goes out, the gates don't lock in the automatic up position, so that we can maintain some of that. And that is still in the expenditure proposal process as well. So that's where we sit with those 2. If we can go to the next slide. So the next slide on our current focus is the Silverleaf Common Property Transfer. All right. So, all right. There's a couple ways to look at this. Follow me here, please. So we have the common area transfer, and I've got a map. We're going to go over a map. And let's say that's phase 1. And then we've got the resort, what we know as Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Everything on the south side of Holly Trail East. It comes out to 2869, goes down to the dam, and then on the south side is bordered by Lowesville Road. So that is the Holiday Inn property, and that's phase 2. That is what is for sale, and that is what we're going to talk about at the town hall. But it's important that we distinguish between the 2, because they're not interrelated quite as much as we might think that they are. So they're going to sell that, but what we're talking about here with current events, and we've been working on for a while, is the acquisition of your common areas. And by common areas, I mean things like the golf course. I mean the property in which you're parked on out here and we walked in. The lakes, things like that. We're going to go through a detailed map of that. But that is what we're talking about when we talk about common area property transfer. So let's start with how did we get here? So we started talking a lot about this earlier in the year when Holiday Inn announced a sale. And I think most folks are under the impression that that was kind of it, and we started then, and now we're moving forward. Well, in actuality, this process of common area transfer started about 2 years ago. And that 2 years ago, Jeff Wilson, wherever he went, oh, there he is. I thought you were sitting on the floor. Reached out to the Holiday Inn folks because we had some issues. And the issues were how much does each Holiday Inn timeshare owner pay when they come in to use your amenities? There were things like that that needed to be looked at. What's the difference between repair and maintenance? The agreement that we have with Silverleaf is we will maintain in a first-class condition. We will pay insurance on all the common areas. We will pay the taxes on the common areas. All of these things that originated several years back, but we needed to relook at those. They hadn't been looked at for a while. And we lead down the path of, well, hey, maybe you guys just might be interested in some of this property. As a matter of fact, we would. So that was the true origination. So we'd been working on this for a while. And then it comes to the point where Silverleaf then says, hey, we're going to sell this place. Let's get rid of it. They're divesting, they're downsizing or right-sizing in their terms. They simply have too much property, too many vacation rentals available for the number of timeshare property owners that they have. So their business decision was, let's right-size this. So that kind of sped up the process a little bit. Like, we really need to get serious about this. We've spent a lot of time looking at it, but we need to continue to gain traction. So that's when the Silverleaf Committee was formed at the direction of the board. So we've got a committee now. We've got a lot of really smart people in a room that are working through this stuff with a lot of different experience, looking at a variety of different scenarios, and really trying to shepherd and push this thing across the finish line. That all leads to what I kind of call a culminating point. So that culminating point is we invited Silverleaf folks, it was 3 of their executives, to come out, let's sit in a room, and let's talk through this. Just mano a mano, let's figure this out. And really there was a lot involved with that meeting. It was, if I remember right, it was the better part of a full day. But really, when we went into this and we crafted our agenda, there was a lot of things we wanted to get to, but some of those big ones were property identification. So we went down and we sat and we went line by line. What about this property? What about that property? We think this property. We don't think that property. We needed to clearly identify what they considered to be common property and what we consider to be common property. So we came to a very good agreement on that. Started off the meeting very well, but the next topic was developer status. If you go back and read some of the dedicatory instruments, it talks about this developer. Back in 1971, it was McKinsey and all of this, but that developer word, if you go back and look at it, is still within a lot of those dedicatory instruments. It was very important to us that if we were going to craft this deal, that we closed the loop on that. And without Holly Lake Ranch being named the developer, that loop wasn't necessarily closed. And they agreed to that. So all very positive. Next topic was transfer mechanism. How are we going to transfer this? The initial thought was it has to be a quitclaim deed. Well, as we started looking through this and got some legal opinions and a variety of things, came down and said, I don't know that that's really what we want to do. And the committee, we poured into this thing, and through a lot of work through the committee members, they were able to tie down a lot of those things. And we believe that we can get it now with a title policy. So we needed to talk about that transfer mechanism. And then finally, the amenity use agreement was a big one. So what does that mean? Well, you can use their amenities, and they can use ours. But what does that look like for a new buyer? To be quite honest, they were a little bit insistent that, well, what's in place is going to remain in place. Well, I'm pretty uncomfortable with negotiating a deal for a buyer that I don't know. And I think all of you would be too, right? So we were able to get them to essentially agree that we will negotiate that. So it is negotiable. Does it mean that they're going to come in here and it's going to be better or worse for them or better or worse for us? It could be, but I don't think that it can be worse than what we have right now. Because you look at the folks that get to come in and out and what they pay, and you can view that on the financial statements of what we take in from Holiday Inn, and it's pennies it's pennies in comparison to what you all pay for your amenities. And if they're going to use your amenities, I think it should be like compensation to what you pay for your amenities. So that's kind of the mindset that we went into this with. Stepped away from that and felt Pretty good, to be honest. The work of the committee shined through, and I think everybody at the end of that day kind of stepped back, took a deep breath, and said, hey, I think we're going to make this a reality. But what's the next step? And the next step is the LOI. We've talked about this mysterious LOI, this letter of intent. Adam, why are you doing a letter of intent? Why don't we just do this? Why don't we do that? Well, the intent with the letter of intent was to clearly articulate the property, the developer status, all of these little details that would nearly mimic what we will put into the contract. And it was important to us because that requires a vote from you all. So we didn't want to bring an LOI that was going to be substantially changed to a contract, because then we need to take it out and we need to revote it. So it was very, very important. We spent a lot of time on this to make sure that everything that was in the LOI would easily transfer over, with the exception of some verbiage, because it's a non-binding LOI. We clearly want it to be a binding contract, so there's certain legalese that needs to be put in there, but the meat and potatoes of it would remain the same. So that's kind of where we came from, but where are we today, I guess, is really what everybody wants to know. What's the status of the LOI? I've heard LOI has already been signed, it's already been approved. I'd love to see it if it is, that would be great. So, the fact of the matter is, we are close. It is not signed. It's been back and forth a little bit. We've got the most recent revision, and I mean, we're picking seeds out of a banana here, kind of close. So it's very close. Committee and I have looked at it. We've got just a little bit more to do, and then we're going to get that over to the board. The board has not seen this latest iteration. So we hope to get that over to them very soon. Time is of the essence for us. But when that LOI gets finalized, then that kind of kicks off the real and true meat and potatoes of this thing. So there is a plan in place of how we're going to present this, and this LOI isn't some mystical creature that nobody ever gets to see. No, you're going to get to touch it, feel it, smell it, read it, all of those things. But we need to get it signed, and then we need to get it out to you. And we need to provide you with as much information as we have that we've gleaned over the past several months or a couple of years in some cases, to get that out so that you can be an educated voter on it. So that's the intent. We've looked at things like town halls. We need to have town halls. We need to have an opportunity to ask the questions. We need to be able to get in this and really work through it, and it's my hope that as we do this, that we can find the commonalities and we can find the great things and we can pour a little bit of gas on those, because this is a fantastic opportunity for the ranch. There's going to be some differences. There may be some happy the glads and LOIs, and folks are going to say, well, I don't agree with the way that that's written in the LOI. Well, to be quite honest, the LOI is the LOI. What we would be voting on is the terms of the LOI. That's not an opportunity for us to go back and try and pick and choose and all of this stuff, because at the end of the day, for the sum and consideration of $10, Holiday Inn, Club Vacations, or Silverleaf is willing to transfer over your common properties to make the ranch whole for the first time since 1971. So that's a big deal. And it's to the committee members who are going to be sitting up here at the end of this. It's to their tribute. So just a tremendous job. Not to belabor that, but multimodal information. We've talked about how are we going to get this out there for folks. Some folks read emails, some folks don't. Some folks would rather see it here or there. So, it's the printing of maps. It's posting them everywhere from in here to Whiskey's to the Pro Shop to any place else that you can see some of these things that we're going to look at here in just a minute, so that you know exactly what you're voting on. It's sending out all of that stuff. It's creating additional tabs on our website, so that if you want to know something about this Silverleaf property transfer, instead of trying to sort through GM updates and all that other stuff, you can go and you can click the tab at the top, and everything that is related to that will be in one place. There's a lot of work that's went into this, but the culminating point to this, and I want to drive this home, is none of that is possible without the vote of the membership. I've heard that multiple times of it's a done deal. Is Chief Bollinger still here? I think we have. No? Yeah, yeah, all right, from the top, Jeff. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. But none of that will be possible without the vote of the membership. I've heard several times that, oh, this is already a done deal. It's, all this. That is not the case. It will take a positive majority vote of the membership to accept this, call it a gift, to accept this. But we need to get you to that point where everybody, as you're filling those things out in the comfort of your home, feels very confident and comfortable with your decision. Our position is not to persuade. Our position is to inform. So that is kind of where we're at today. There's one other thing, cost. So I mentioned the sum and consideration of $10. Three things, make a contract valid, right, sum and consideration. So there has to be something in there. But I don't want there to be an impression that that is the only cost associated with this. So I want to be, it's not horrible, guys. But I do want to be clear about that. So there are legal fees that we'll have to have, and some of which we've already expended. There's going to be titling fees. There's going to be things like that that you would assume when you buy a house. It's not a, well, we'll put this under the titling fee, but it's actually $1 million. There's none of that. It's legitimate cost that you would have to purchase any property. So I do want to be clear about that. The transfer is $10, but there are other fees associated, and we hope to be able to very, very clearly provide all those to you as we start to do this kind of rollout of all this information. So I know this was important. I really wanted to talk about this because this is phase one, not related to phase two, the sale of the property that is to be happening on March 4th via auction. That is the Holiday Inn Resort. So they're related because they're owned by the same person, but what we're talking about with the acquisition of your property is not necessarily directly related to the sale of the property over there. So I just want to be very clear about that moving forward. So I think that is it for now. We could talk about this a lot, but that's not the focus of this. But I wanted to give you enough information to know that it is getting very, very close. And when that closeness hits, then we're going to get full deep into it, just like we are later on with the sale of the property. Okay. With that, that wraps up our current focus. I'd like to briefly get into our 3-month future focus. We'll do the questions and answers, and then we can adjourn for a little bit and get into the town hall. So next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. If you can come to the microphone, sir. And we ask y'all to come to the microphone because we're video recording this, and if you don't talk into a microphone, the folks online can't hear you.
This had nothing to do with this. But I want to hear what this lady has to say because he said we'll talk about it later.
Well, and we will. We're going to get to general property owner questions.
Okay.
Coming up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, sorry, I jumped the gun there. So, next slide, please. So when we talk about what are, it's thinking it's going to come. So when we talk about what are the common areas, the map that's going to popped up, all the areas in yellow, and we're going to blow this up by quadrant here in just a minute. I know it's very, very difficult to see, but I'm going to try and talk you through what's in some of those quadrants, just so you have an idea. I've talked to a lot of folks, and they say, what do you mean we don't own the common areas? Yes, that is a fact. We don't own the common areas. So this is kind of what we're talking about. Please notice Holiday Inn and the little inset for it. That is not included in this. That is phase two, what we're going to talk about after this. So if we can go to the next slide, please. All right, so we're up in section 2, kind of up in the northwest corner here. So common areas as considered in this would be Cattail Lake, Whispering Winds, Shadow Lake, Holly Lake, all of the area over here. There is a little area down here that the county says is owned by somebody else, Bob Mead. I know. That's what it says on the county. I believe that that's incorrect. I believe that we can easily prove that. But I do want to make that distinction because if you go home tonight and look on WoodCAD, it'll look like somebody else owns that, and you're going to say, Adam lied to me because Silverleaf can't transfer property that isn't owned by them. We recognize and acknowledge that. And then down on the south side of the dam over here, there's another distinction down there. So it's actually marked in reserve area, and it's parcel number 16175. And we'll talk about that again in a minute because 16175 is associated with 4 different properties. It's that property, it's the condos, it's hole 12 and a couple other there on the golf course, and then it's on the south side that's Holiday Inn Vacation admin. Why are they all the same? We're trying to work through that as well. So you will see that. It looks like it's owned by somebody else, parcel number 16175, but we'll get some clarity on that. So this is kind of where we're at here. This slide, please. If we look at the east side, so we'll start at the top here in section 8. So the 2 parks that are kind of up there are included. We call them parks. They're really not kind of park-like that you think of. Not yet. But the park's up here. We've got on the north side of the East Fork, kind of that swampland up in there, all of Lake Greenbrier. And it's hard to see, but you'll notice there are some individual lots. So they decided to transfer all of their owned individual lots within this, which is good as well. It's potential for increased revenue for the ranch, but it kind of breaks the tie, if you will. So anything that they owned here within what we kind of consider Holly Lake Ranch would either be transferred over or it's owned by you all. So that kind of closes the loop there again. We've got the RV park, the area just south of the RV park, some of these lots again, all of the golf course. Point Park is included. There's an area kind of catty corner to Point Park if you're standing out on the point. There's an area down there that's a really nice area. It's classified as a park as well, but it's a little bit overgrown now. Includes it over here, the dam, on the south side of the dam, the boat ramp, all of that, and then our maintenance shop where it sits out on FM 2869. All right, next slide, please. Down south, it includes the air park, and it also notice, it's hard to see, but there's an area above the air park that is owned. It's technically outside of the ranch property, but it's owned by Silverleaf, and they've agreed to transfer that as well. And then we have the general common recreational area down to Section 3, and some Section 3 lots as well. Next slide. And then Section 6, it's a little easier to see on this, but there's 3 individual lots that they currently own that will go with this transfer as well. So when we refer to the common area transfer, that's really and truly what we were talking about. All right, next slide, please. I think it's time for future focus now. It is, future focus. All right. So the second quarter board restricted funds, board votes in advance of the board restricted fund expenditure. So in this case, it would be for the second quarter. Funds will not be expended if approved until the beginning of the second quarter, but this allows us an opportunity to kind of know what's coming, and we can get those expenditure requests and keep the ball rolling. So the expenditure proposal for second quarter is the approval of $425,000 based on the affirmative vote that we received from the members, thank you, to move forward with the road paving and sealing. So that will be voted on the 20th of February. It won't be voted on tonight, but the 20th of February at the next open executive session at 2 p.m. in Holly Hall. So that's what they will be voting to approve. Again, they've approved it in December, but we go through every quarter just to reapprove. You all have reaffirmed that that is your wants, wishes, and desires based on your vote, and then that will allow us to really get going with that contractor and get them locked in. So that is what they will be doing for second quarter.
Adam?
Ma'am.
That meeting is in the board administration room, not in the Holly Hall.
Did I say Holly Hall?
I think so.
I should go home. I'm sorry, it is over in Holly Hall, or Holly Lodge, good gracious. Holly Lodge at 2 p.m. All right, next one, so our 3-month future focus, again, things that we really want to put some time and effort into in the coming months, but our 5-year capital outlook, we're in the process right now of doing some model creation and evaluation, but we really need to look at, Jeff mentioned wants, wishes, and desires, or wants, wishes, and needs. Really, what does the ranch need? If I'm being honest, we have all, at some point in our association with Holly Lake Ranch, have inherited a boat full of holes. And there's a lot of holes in the boat to be fixed. So we've got to prioritize those things, and we've got to take efforts now to be able to get those things fixed so that 10 or 15 years down the road, it's not even more expensive to do. So we really need to look at that. That's the project identification. But equally, we need to consider the health of our reserves. If we look at our current reserves now and really what we need to do, it's really not a great looking picture. And we're going to get into that more in the coming months here. But we need some time to really get into this, to reconsider how much we transfer to reserves, how much we're going to save, how can we capitalize on the passive interest that we were able to do last year to increase those reserves, so on and so forth. So hopefully we'll have a lot of good updates on that at the next meeting, which I believe is May. Obviously, the Silverleaf common property transfer is a very, very high priority for us, has taken a considerable amount of time and will, but it's important. So that's certainly within our 3-month focus. And then finally, our fitness center cardio equipment. We did phase 1 last year, not to be mistaken with this whole Silverleaf phase 1 and phase 2. But we did phase 1, which is primarily our strength related equipment, but it wasn't necessarily related to our cardio equipment. So we've got a lot of aging machines up there. They cost a lot of money. One of those Precor treadmills that sits up there is about between $12,000 and $15,000. So if we were going to go and replace that whole front row, that's a substantial investment that requires additional maintenance. What's the life? So when we balanced all of these things, it made more sense to go with a lease. So we're looking right now to find that lease, and that lease would include 4 treadmills, 2 ellipticals, 1 stationary bike, 1 rowing machine, and 1 stair climber. And the thought with this, based on the quotes that we've got, is based on a 3 or 4 year. Most warranties run out at the 3 year. So we would lease for the 3 years. It includes all the required maintenance that comes with it. And then every 3 to 4 years, you all get brand new equipment that's in a much better state of repair. You can utilize it, enjoy it, it's safer, and it makes financial sense based on what we've seen so far. So that is our focus for the next 3 months. All right, I think that's it.
Say, my name's AJ. Everybody knows me. Hey, so what are you gonna do with the other equipment that you're gonna lease the stuff, but now what are you gonna do with the other stuff?
We're going to sell it. Are you interested?
No.
Oh. Yeah, so that's a good question, fair question. Just like with anything here, we have, and it's outlined within our financial policies and procedures, what we need to do with it. We look for fair market value, we document, record, and do all those other things, but it makes no sense for us to hold on to equipment. But in the same respect, I'm not in the mind of giving things away either, because that's your money. So we'll try and sell it to the best of our ability, free up some space. It goes back into the operating account. I just want to be clear with that. It doesn't go back into the fitness center account or anything like that. It would go back into the operating account and is carried over. It would be there in 2024 as we look to see, or 2025 for that budget. So it just gets put back into that. But if you're interested, just let me know. All right.
Okay, thank you, Adam. We're going to be moving into our question and answer, or any questions you might have. You could come forward and ask those. We'd ask you, though, can you hear me? Doesn't sound like I'm on. Okay. Would like for you to hold your questions related to the actual sale of the property till during the presentation, so if you could just hold off on that. But any other questions you might have, if you would come to the microphone, state your name, what section you live in, we'll be glad to answer that.
Hi.
Hi,
I'm
how are you?
Lily Brown, and I've been, I think, corresponding with you. Are you Bill?
I am.
Okay. And I know I'm
Can you move a little closer to the microphone?
I'm soft-spoken, I'm sorry. My situation is I've been going through a lot of health issues with my husband. Last December, and we got behind on our dues, is because we were in Fort Worth for 7 weeks going through radiation. So I've reached out to y'all because when we got back in December, then I realized that we were late, and I can't make them up. I can't pay them. I can't pay the dues anymore. We've retired, but my section is Section 3. I've tried to give the lot away. I've tried to sell the lot, and it's not valued. I can't do anything with it. So I'm asking to resign and for y'all to forgive my debt and let me get out, because I can't keep paying the dues. I don't have any use for them. I can't put anything over there. We're right between two people. Neither one of those will sell. I've tried to get, buy. I even had somebody go and try to go to the manager, the administration, and ask them if they took my lot, swapped it with another lot, bought the lot beside it, would that work? And they said no. So now I'm just stuck. I don't know what to do.
Okay. First of all, let me say I'm sorry for all your health problems. I know that's a tough thing to handle. And when times are tough, I know that even compounds the problem. And I'm sorry for that. And I know you have been in contact with Adam over the last several weeks. Mm-hmm. And you've had some conversation, email after email that has gone back and forth. I don't know if you've met directly with him or not.
No, I have not.
And so
I didn't know that.
That's all right.
I've been a member since 2019, but no, I don't know anybody.
Okay, well, this is Mr. Eller, Adam Eller. Okay, he's our general manager, right? And that's who you've been contacting,
Yes.
right? And I know we had some conversations and
Yes.
what might be able to occur.
Yes.
And we're governed by the land sale agreement that you signed when you
Yes.
bought that land,
Yes,
and your agreement to pay dues on that.
yes.
And I know we are also governed by our financial policy procedures, okay? And there's certain things we can and cannot do.
Can I stop you for just a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have spoken to other people that have been in my situation that did no longer want their lot, and they wrote a letter to the administration and said, I don't want it, we're done, resign us from this, and you did.
I can't speak to that directly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I've had other people come tell me to come to the board to state my case,
Right.
and that they should help me. Do you want to keep it going and pay the $2,500 for legal fees?
What we're going to do is, we're not going to negotiate this thing here tonight, all right?
I hope not.
We do want to help. It may not be to the degree that you want, okay? But this is a mutual negotiation, okay? And we encourage you, from a board's perspective, we're aware of your circumstances. Mr. Ellard has informed us, and he has the purview of making that decision based upon our documents. And we would encourage you to come up, sit down with Adam, and try to come to something that's understandable.
I've offered that too.
All you have to do is call him and set up a
I've offered
time.
that. I've said, I'll do whatever it needs to be, and he said, well, come to the meeting.
Okay.
So here I am.
Here you are.
Exposing myself to everybody.
All right. Well, I apologize if that's the way it came across, because that's not the way it was
Well,
intended.
that's what, my emails
So-
sometimes aren't
All
very
right.
nice, but I will not cuss, I will not say
I know.
anything
That's
like
okay.
that, but I am strong.
I don't have
opinionated.
feelings. The Marine Corps took those a long time ago, so we're okay. All right. Let's do this. I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and let's set up a time, and let's just get face to face and let's work through this.
Okay, sounds good. And
All right.
I've always paid my dues, you know that.
Okay. Well, let's get together.
Even though I
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
use it, I paid them. So,
Okay, is that good?
that's good.
All right.
And hopefully we can negotiate a good price, and if we can't, I'll let everybody know.
I do just want to say,
I'm letting everybody know.
you can
You
let
already put me in front of everybody, I'm gonna let everybody know.
No, ma'am, this was
You're
not my idea
recording
for you to
this.
come. But let me just be clear.
Yeah.
The negotiation of a
I'll take
price
donations too.
is done. The negotiation of a price, the way that I look at it, when we do loan forgiveness, and we just talked about $1 million,
Yes.
they add up. And when I forgive a loan, I'm taking a penny out of yours, and a penny out of yours, and a penny out of
Anybody wanna
yours,
hand me a penny?
right? So I take that very seriously, and it's not
I do too.
to be tough on other folks, but it's to protect the folks out here to which I'm here to serve.
And I appreciate that, but like I said, if I can't sell it, I can't give it away.
Well, let's
What
meet.
use?
Let's meet and we'll talk, okay?
All right,
All right,
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
all.
very much. Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay. Oh, you got one? Well, Mr. Johnson.
One question, I'm sure Adam can answer it. My name's M.G. Johnson, Section 7, Lot 85. There are these companies that you keep seeing their names. Silverleaf, Holiday Inn Club Vacations, whom I have been in contact at one time with the general counsel there, and then Orange Lake Resorts, whose name shows up on the Wood County Appraisal District. If anybody wants to go look at Wood County Appraisal District and put in Ascension Resorts Limited, you'll find 21 properties that I think probably include almost all the common areas. And the tax bill appears to be sent to Orange Lake Resorts. Do you know how all of these companies interrelate? Is Holiday Inn Club Vacation, Inc. the big cheese?
So we do have an understanding of how those relate. There's this document that we've requested because that's important to us as well. We want to make sure that in this transfer that everything is transferred not just from Silverleaf, but all their previous subordinate, superior, all those other things. So there's a document of merger that we have, and we're going to get into that all very specifically when we roll out this LOI, because that is, I think that's paragraph 1 of the LOI. It talks about Silverleaf, Ascension, all these other things, but how they interrelate and how they tie back, which ultimately gives Silverleaf Resorts the authority to transfer that property. So that was a very important thing that we wanted to make sure was in there that we had. So we'll certainly get into all the details of that, but yes, we do have a certificate of merger and more to follow. So.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm Henry Isaacs. I live in Section 4.
Okay, I think she's got it. Let her speak.
I'm Henry Isaacs. I live in Section 4. I knew about Holly Lake Ranch 10 years ago, and I wanted to move here. And I kept looking to move here, looking to move here. Finally, I moved here. Those of you in Section 4 know my house. You know the issues with the builder. You know what a nightmare it's been, but I still love Holly Lake Ranch. I used to be a reporter, so I'm nosy, and I'm curious, and I like to be able to put the pieces together. And I started wondering the other day, just how in the world did this organization, Holly Lake Ranch Homeowners Association, get involved with a large corporation like Holiday Inn Vacation, whatever they're called, and now we're coming to where they're pulling out. And what say do we have to who they can sell it to? And how will that affect our community that is very close, very helpful, very friendly, and I love it. I don't want it to change. I would like to know the history, besides the businessmen that came out here from Dallas and put their cabins up, and they did the fishing, they did the hunting. At what point did a foreign entity get to be involved in Holly Lake Ranch and have so much power, so much influence over what is us? And I realize I've not been an us for very long, but I take it and I own it, and I want it to stay good. I want it to stay best. And
As do we, and we are glad you're here. And I know you went through a lot of ordeal building that house, and so we're glad you're here. Now, you ask a lot, and we need to address that, but that's going to take a long time to do that, okay? And we want to get to that, and part of that's going to be addressed to a certain degree in our presentation here in a little bit. So if you can just, I'm not trying to put you off, but if you could just hang in here.
I'll be back if
All
you
right.
want. But I'm
Okay.
just saying that it's,
Right.
I know there's a history on the website.
There is.
Original website about all the men and all the stuff they did and
Right.
all that. And
Right.
what I want to know is how this other commercial entity became part of us.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? Okay, if you can give us about 10 minutes. What?
Mr. President, oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm getting way ahead of myself here. We got to close this meeting out.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. You have a second? Those in favor? All right. The meeting is officially adjourned. Now, let me get back to what I was saying. Sorry for the disorder here. But we're going to take it back.